Fox Oldies, 98.9, 105.3, WGNY FM in New York. I'm Bobo on a fun day Saturday morning. And now, it's my very special guest, Megan Conroy, our elder law attorney for our special segment now called Planning Ahead. Megan, how was your St. Patrick's Day?
It was great, Bobo. How was yours?
Oh, it was terrific. And I understand you did some studying where my two cousins, Peggy and Patsy, live over in Cork, Ireland.
I did. It was many years ago now, but as part of a study abroad program, I spent about 4 months there in Cork.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. Small world. Even, all the way in Ireland, we still have connections.
Yeah, and just remember one thing. When it comes down to St. Patrick's Day, the Irish do not like to hear us Americans call it St. Paddy's Day. Don't ever do that.
Fair enough.
So, Megan, here we are with our Planning Ahead segment on this fun day Saturday morning. And why don't you give out all your contact information to begin with?
Absolutely. So, as you said, my name's Megan Conroy. I'm a partner at Blustein, Shapiro, Frank, and Barone. We're in Goshen, New York, primarily. The phone number at the office there is 845-291-0011, and we have a website that has a lot of good information and the ability to sign up for workshops. The website is www.mid-hudsonlaw.com.
And you are Megan, the mega attorney. That's what I like to call you.
I appreciate that you think so.
Oh, no, I know so. So, Megan, let me ask you a question here. And the question is, now, we've discussed this before, but there's a lot of depth with this conversation we're going to have. It's called irrevocable trusts. Where do we begin with that?
Sure. And so there are, as we've discussed previously, essentially two kinds of trusts that can be made, revocable and irrevocable. But the irrevocable trust is really special. And in the irrevocable trust category, there are a lot of subsets. The idea behind a trust is that it's a very custom document, and you can include provisions in the document to address your specific concerns. So when we're talking about irrevocable trusts, we're usually trying to layer in some kind of protection. So there's a lot of different irrevocable trusts that exist out there, but one of them is really, really common in my practice, and we call this kind of irrevocable trust a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Lots of attorneys use them, and if that trust is properly drafted, it can work to protect assets for people so that as they get older and they anticipate needing some level of long-term care, the trust can protect the assets so when they need that care, they don't have to pay as much money privately for that care because it is very expensive. So that irrevocable trust, the Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, is one that we use probably for close to 80% of our clients end up using that form of trust at some point in their life. And then the question is really, when is it appropriate to start using it versus maybe what might be premature for that kind of trust?
Oh, wow. So 80%, huh?
Yeah, that would be my estimate. It's a really great tool, and that's why I think so many people end up using it at some time. They're preparing for what is likely to be one of the largest expenses of their lifetime, and that's the cost of long-term care as they get older. It's very pricey, and depending on the kind of care you need, the cost of it is going to adjust slightly. But what we typically find is that I think minimum care needs for an individual, so let's say they stay home, they're starting to decline, and they're needing a little bit of extra help in their home. So they have an aid service come to them for a couple of hours per day or per week. We probably would see that kind of care start out around maybe $4,000 or $5,000 a month. So that's really like the minimum level of care. And then if their needs continue to increase, they need more assistance in the home, or maybe they even need to escalate to a facility like assisted living or nursing home care, we're going to see the cost increase. So what I saw this year is that a lot of the nursing facilities have increased the cost of the care. And what I'm finding now is the facilities we deal with most often, their average cost of nursing home care is over $17,000 every month.
Wow.
So that becomes a major concern for people. How am I going to afford this? Or if I do need to pay for this, do I get to leave anything to my family, right? Is there going to be anything left by the time I pass away? So that irrevocable trust helps us to protect and preserve those assets.
Now, the nursing home would want to see a copy of this, right?
Sometimes they do ask for financial information upon admission. They kind of want to understand, is this person going to be paying privately, or maybe they start paying privately and then transition over to some kind of other coverage like Medicaid, which is the government benefit that does pay for long-term care. Will they transition into Medicaid coverage at some time? So the nursing home will want to see the financial information so that they can understand how this resident plans to pay. And when you provide that information to them, often they will inquire about whether a trust exists and what assets are included in that trust.
So the administration officials at a nursing home, of course, are well versed on all of this, correct?
Yeah, I mean, at minimum, they're going to be pretty familiar with basic estate planning. They'll know to identify an irrevocable trust. They'll certainly understand finances because that's how they make sure they're getting paid.
Sure.
And they do have a pretty baseline knowledge of Medicaid applications. Often you will find that nursing facilities will offer to apply for Medicaid for their residents. We don't necessarily recommend you rely on the facility because while they know how to complete the application, they're not allowed to give legal advice. So if there's any strategy that's involved in trying to get that person eligible for Medicaid, the nursing home really can't help with that. But honestly, they're great about that too. They know when they can help and when they should refer the person to an attorney.
Well, let me ask you this. Would it be necessary for an individual that's going to be entering a nursing home facility to have legal representation with them at the time?
I think it is worth consulting with an attorney when you are realizing that you or your loved one is going to need any additional care, whether that's care in the home, in assisted living, which is not quite nursing home care, and then absolutely in a nursing home setting. And often people will contact the attorney at that time, especially if the person who's entering the nursing home has done any level of estate planning. And it's not because they've identified that, I need my attorney to tell me what to do here. It's often because they want to find out from the attorney, what paperwork do I need, right? Should I have the power of attorney ready? Should I have my healthcare proxy ready? And in gathering that documentation, usually as part of the conversation, they'll reveal to the attorney that this is the circumstance. My loved one, my husband, my whoever it's going to be, is going to be going into a facility. And at that time, the attorney says, okay, well, maybe there's some additional steps to take. It's not just a matter of having the paperwork ready, but let's make sure that assets are protected too.
Well, I think having legal representation, being present at the time, sitting down and having a meeting with an assisted living facility or even a nursing home would be a lot better than the individual going to a lawyer's office and saying this, that, and the other thing and leaving something out. And then, oops, before you know it, something happens, correct?
Sure, yeah. And I think to your point, having the attorney involved in the conversation is really helpful. Typically, how it works logistically for our office is the individual contacts me that they or their loved one is going to be needing a facility. I discuss the information with them because of client confidentiality. We don't want to just jump to having a conversation with a third party. But I gather as much information from the client as possible so I know what to prepare for. And then usually at that point, we can help to facilitate the conversation with the staff at the facility, and whether that be admissions or the financial end of things. Because we do this kind of law every day, so I have a team. We have, I think it's up to 5 legal secretaries in the office, and then besides myself, there's 2 other attorneys that work in this kind of law. So this is estate planning and elder law. And we have a really good rapport with the facilities locally. So we know that when someone says, my loved one is going into this particular facility, I'll say, oh, yeah, I know Kim over there. They're in admissions. As soon as I figure out what's happening here, I'll reach out to her and begin to coordinate. So we already have those relationships, and we can work with them pretty seamlessly for the client.
So what happens if that certain facility knows that you have an irrevocable trust? What do they think right away?
Well, I think it's pretty commonplace now. So they are usually not surprised when they see one. And at that point, they often will say, okay, if the resident, the person that's entering the facility, has not yet connected the facility with the attorney, the trust usually tells the facility there is an attorney involved here, and maybe you should reach out to your attorney to help coordinate things.
Oh.
So the facility is really good at guiding them as well. And I think that trust is just a nice little flag to the facility to say, you know what, there is more sophisticated planning here. It may mean to the facility that they should expect that Medicaid will help to pay for this individual's care. But that's not a bad thing. Really what the facility cares about is making sure they get properly paid for their services, whether that's privately by the resident or through a Medicaid application. And often the facility, even when there's no trust involved, the facility will recommend to individuals to consult with an attorney because New York is a really great place to qualify for Medicaid, even if the person did not do what I'll call proactive planning. They never knew that they could use this irrevocable trust to protect assets. They never knew that they should do estate planning, so they didn't do any of those things. Even in a crisis situation where no planning is in place, we can still strategically move assets to protect at least half of those assets. And by now, the facilities know that that's a possibility. So even when they don't see an irrevocable trust, they often say, maybe you should talk to an attorney. Rather than depleting everything you have, the attorney can help you to save some of this, even without that irrevocable trust. So our counterparts in these facilities, we're not affiliated with any of them, obviously, but we try to work together for the client's best interest. And I do see them being very kind and reciprocal about that kind of care and assistance.
Now, let me ask you this. What would be the difference if the potential client only had a revocable trust? Is there a big difference there with that between revocable trust and irrevocable trust?
Sure, absolutely there's a difference, especially when it comes to long-term care. So foundationally, the difference between revocable and irrevocable is on its face that a person who creates a revocable trust could revoke the trust if they decided they didn't want that trust anymore, meaning they can cancel the trust entirely, take the assets out of it. It also is an easier document to amend the text. So let's say I'm saying I want my dog Riley to go to my brother, and then I change my mind about that, and I say I actually want Riley to go to my sister-in-law. I can change the text in that document very easily. So it's very amendable, very flexible. Because of that flexibility, that revocable trust doesn't give you the kind of asset protection that we're typically looking for when we are looking ahead to long-term care costs. So the revocable trust does not protect assets in a long-term care setting, whether that's care in the home, assisted living, or nursing home care. It still does have great features and it has its uses, but when we know that we're going to be looking ahead to long-term care and we want to protect assets from the cost of that care, that's when we're really going to be looking to the irrevocable trust. The irrevocable nature of that trust, so it's less flexible than the revocable, that's what gives us the asset protection. When you put that trust together, we're saying, I don't plan to terminate this. This is my forever plan. I plan to have this document in place, put assets into it, and leave them there. And because I promised to leave those assets alone, no one else can force me to take those assets and spend them on the cost of my care. So that's really how the irrevocable trust is going to protect us. So there's a big distinction there with that asset protection.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this question. Here's a question of questions, I think, anyway, but I'm not an attorney, obviously. What about the revocable trust? Does that raise a bunch of red flags with the assisted living or nursing home facility?
No, I don't think it raises red flags. Again, when they see a trust instrument, what it tells them is this person has done some level of estate planning. And I think often at that point they say, maybe you want to consult with the attorney who put this together. The revocable trust, these facilities know, the revocable trust is not going to protect the assets inside of it. So when they're reviewing the individual's financial situation, they're going to say, unfortunately, with the assets the way they are, you are going to need to use these. Now, typically, when a person's paying for their own care, they'll likely start with their income, right? So they're going to use sources of income to help pay for the care, whether that's Social Security, required minimum distributions from their retirement accounts, maybe any pension income, investment income, rental income if they have rental properties. So all the sources of income would be the first place that we want to start paying for that care. And then if the cost of the care exceeds the income, which often it does, then we start to look at the assets and where can we pull some extra money from to cover this monthly cost of care. So when the facilities see that a revocable trust is involved, they're saying, okay, this person has this income, they have these assets outside of the revocable trust, and then they have these assets inside of the revocable trust, and all of those assets in every source is going to be at this person's disposal to pay for their care. So they can see this person has money to pay for care privately.
I hate to be a curmudgeon here. I really do. But here's another scenario, too. Now, I don't know how many individuals out there have done this. But what if they have a reverse mortgage on their property and their property is paid off? And they're basically sucking all the equity out of their house, and they have a revocable trust. Now, that should raise some red flags with a facility, should it not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it necessarily raises a flag, right? But that reverse mortgage, they're going to see that it exists. They're going to see, how much available balance is going to be left over, and they're going to consider that money that's available to the resident, the person who's entering the facility. So I think that there are probably instances where a reverse mortgage makes sense from a financial perspective for certain individuals. But from an estate planning perspective, usually what we find is that a person takes out this reverse mortgage thinking they need this money to pay for their care, when in fact there's a lot of other planning options that can allow that person to use Medicaid to pay for their care. So I think some of this has to do with the fact that there's a misunderstanding about what options people have to pay for long-term care and how a reverse mortgage is actually going to affect the asset and the family after they pass away.
That's a very good point. That's why I think before an individual goes ahead and signs on a dotted line for a reverse mortgage, they really should get some type of, consultation from a legal representative, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a legal representative, but also someone to review their finances, right? So attorneys are not allowed to give financial advice, but we like to partner really closely with people's wealth managers and financial advisors and accountants because those are the people that help to build the strategy out. So when we're looking at something like a reverse mortgage, certainly we want to talk to the client about the effects it might have on estate planning and what it looks like after death. But we also want to loop in that person's financial advisor to say, you know what, is this really necessary? Is this going to be the best tool for you, the best option for you? And sometimes it is.
Well, I'll tell you something. A lot of this could get very, very complicated and very stressful because, number one, the individual needs to find a really great attorney like yourself. And the other thing is, they need to find a financial advisor that they can trust. How would you go about finding that financial advisor that they can honestly trust? What does that individual look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think in that search, there are a lot of advisors and wealth managers out there, and a lot of them are very, very good, right? There's a lot of mechanisms in place to protect individuals from advisors that maybe wouldn't necessarily do the right thing. So you're going to look at their credentials. Probably a great place to start would be talking to friends and family and talking to your other professionals. If you already have an attorney that you like, you already have a CPA that you like, ask them if they have worked with any financial advisors or wealth managers that they thought were really wonderful. I will tell you, my office does keep a list. In our practice, we deal very closely with our clients' wealth managers, and the ones who are wonderful not only to work with, but we can see they have a great relationship with my clients. They're doing really a good job in investing the portfolio. We keep a list of those advisors to say, you know what, if anyone ever asks us who we recommend, we have a handful of, say, 10 great people that we have worked with in the past, and we are not concerned at all about telling someone else, go to this person because they are wonderful. We know they're going to do a wonderful job. So most professionals will do that. They'll have a handful of people that, just based on their own experience, they thought did great for the client, and they're willing to refer new clients to that person. There's never going to be like one advisor that I'm always going to refer to. We don't make those kinds of relationships. But typically your other professionals, like your attorney or CPA, can provide you with a list of, I'd say, somewhere between 3 and 5 names. From there, you can take that list and contact some of them and see if this is the person that you can build a trusting relationship with. So I think trusting your other professionals to make a great referral to you is going to be one of the top things to do, but also talking to other friends and family members, see who they use, who they like, who they didn't like, those kinds of things. When you start to interview these advisors, you're going to want to start to ask about their fees to find out how they get paid and what kind of fees you can expect. Are there hidden fees? Is it a flat fee? Is it a percentage? How all of these things work. Are there restrictions? Can they invest in anything, or can they only invest in certain things, and is that interesting to you? So there's a lot of questions involved, but I would say see if other people trust them, and then also checking on their fees will be the biggest factors.
Wow, that's really, really, really amazing advice. And your law firm is absolutely awesome, because I didn't know that your law firm does all that.
Yeah. I mean, my law firm, I think we have somewhere between 12 and 15 attorneys currently, and we all kind of practice in different areas. But like I said, myself and 2 other attorneys do estate planning and elder law, and just having this practice, my partner, Rich Shapiro, who I know you've spoken with a fair bit,
yes,
he developed this practice, and I think through the system that he's created and that we maintain today, we have this history with other professionals and other advisors, and it's really nice that with that experience and getting to know those other professional individuals, we can provide that information to our clients and other people who might be looking to connect with other great professionals.
Well, personally, I think that is absolutely awesome. Megan, if you don't mind, could you please give out your contact information again?
Sure. So people looking to get a hold of us by phone, they're going to call 845-291-0011. And then our website, like I said, is excellent. There's a lot of great information on there. You can see all of the attorneys in the firm. That website information is going to be www.mid-hudsonlaw.com.
Well, Megan, I'll tell you, this coming Friday is the first day of spring.
Oh, that's so exciting. It kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize that.
See, that's why I'm here, to let you know things like that. So because it's the first day of spring, and spring is on the way, and we're getting rid of this brutal winter that we went through, which was just rotten, so I guess there's more and more workshops being planned, are there not?
Yeah, absolutely. So I host my workshop, which, as you know, is free. It's open to the public. I host it every other month. What I am willing to do, if we find that these workshops are really filling up, is include some more. So I might even consider doing it monthly. But right now, they're scheduled for every other month through the rest of the year. So the next one I'm hosting is going to be on May 21st. That workshop is in person in my office in Goshen. We have a nice little education center. So that will be in person. It starts at 3 o'clock. That workshop typically runs about 2 hours, and we have some snacks and things for people that attend. So May 21st at 3 o'clock is the next workshop. And then the one that's scheduled after that is going to be July 22nd. Same thing at the office. It's 3 o'clock, about 2 hours long. So May 21st, July 22nd. And those are free. And I will tell you, it was a really nice surprise at the one I just had this month. I did have a few people that attended, and they told me, Bobo, that they are big fans of yours. They listen, and they like this program. And so they heard about the workshop, and they were able to attend in March this month.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate their kindness and their loyalty. But even more so, I appreciate all the professional information that you give with planning ahead right here on our Fun Day Saturday morning. Megan, you are just absolutely awesome. You really, truly are. Now, with these workshops, you strongly suggest that people sign up for this, correct?
Yes, you do need to RSVP in advance. Like I said, because we host them in person, we have an education center, there is limited seating. So the preference would be to either call into the office at 845-291-0011 to reserve a spot. If you are bringing a friend or a significant other, just let us know you need 2 spots or more, and we'll put you on the list. And that way we can gauge if the workshop itself is going to be full, in which case we'll create a waiting list, and then we can also offer future workshops to those people that we can't squeeze in. But like you're saying, space is pretty limited.
How wonderful is that? And how about your contact information again, Megan, please?
Yes, you can reach me by phone, 845-291-0011, or our website is www.mid-hudsonlaw.com.
You know what? Let's do that again, Megan. Your information one more time, please.
Yes, 845-291-0011, the best number to reach me on, and www.mid-hudsonlaw.com.
So how's that old boy, Richard Shapiro, doing?
Oh, he's doing wonderfully. He does ask me after the show, how's Bobo doing? So I'm really glad you're asking.
You know, you guys are just absolutely terrific, and I mean that. I'm not just saying that, because there's one thing about me that people need to understand. If I go to a great business, no matter what business it is, and I really like it, and the people that own the business are fair, open, and honest, I absolutely tell the world about it. And there's no doubt about it that your law firm is one of the best out there. You guys really are, just based on the information that you give alone with our little segment here with Planning Ahead, Megan. I really want you guys to know that. I mean it.
Thank you so much. It really is a pleasure to be on with you every month. I enjoy myself. And really, it means so much that you think the world of us. That we know that, and we do appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And like I said, all this personal, professional advice that you throw out there to inform people what they need to know is just incredible, because there's a lot of people that don't know about these things. And they need to contact your office again, and your contact information one more time, Megan, please, if you don't mind.
Sure. You can give us a ring at 845-291-0011 or www.mid-hudsonlaw.com.
Now, with the first day of spring right around the corner, don't forget about the flowers out there that need planting in your garden.
Do you do a lot of gardening?
I used to. I do less now, but I love horticulture. I really do. I love the holly trees that I planted that are growing so beautifully. I love to watch things grow. I really do, especially certain types of flowers and bushes, and I love cutting my lawn perfectly.
Oh, good for you.
I don't know. Maybe we'll do the baseball pattern this year for the first cut. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Megan, again, thank you so much for your professional time and your professional knowledge and advice. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Bobo.
You're very much welcome. There she goes, and you can't beat her. She is a mega attorney, believe me, with planning ahead. I'm Bobo. On a fun day Saturday morning, I have definitely a lot more of the greatest music ever recorded coming up next.